Imagine a future where your financial security comes from properties that you own. Real estate that not only appreciates in value, but provides you with steady income that is greater than your current salary. Welcome to the Complete Real Estate course, the only course you need to build wealth through real estate. Now, in this comprehensive course, I'll walk you through every step of the real estate investment journey from scratch. You'll learn why owning your home is the best investment strategy that you can make, and discover strategies to grow your wealth by investing in rental properties. Now, in this comprehensive course, you'll get access to my complete real estate dashboard, which is a very powerful tool designed to help you track, plan, and execute your investment real estate strategy from anywhere in the world. And together we'll use this dashboard to create a personalized business plan that looks like this that we can export. Okay, we're going to create a personalized business plan that's very comprehensive for you that you're going to create before you even consider buying real estate. Now, from understanding tax benefits and leveraging mortgages, to selecting the right real estate agents, lawyers, and so much more, to finding the right real estate to buy and analyzing every qualitative and quantitative feature of the property, this course covers it all. And with many exercises and clear examples, you'll build a solid business plan and executive summary for your real estate investment. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or invest in residential rentals or explore commercial real estate, I'll guide you through every single step. No theory. It's practical knowledge based on my experience buying many homes and rental properties. And by the end of this comprehensive course, you'll have a comprehensive business plan and the confidence to make informed investment decisions. And no prior business or finance or accounting or real estate knowledge is required to take this comprehensive course. So join me in the Complete Real Estate course, and let's start building generational wealth together. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 295th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. So this is an AMA, like you see on Reddit. You can ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, investing questions, career questions, personal growth questions, any questions you have. And my humble goal is to help you take your career, your portfolio, your life, your happiness, etc., to the next level. So without further ado, let's begin. Please continue to type your questions. Now, I released my complete real estate course. It's based on a lot of real estate properties that I own. I think that real estate is the best investment you could possibly make. It's a much better investment than stocks in the long run because you can deduct the interest on your mortgage if you live in the United States. And regardless of where you live in the world, if you start a real estate company, you can deduct an unlimited amount of interest expense as well. And you can also deduct the depreciation. And that's a huge deal. And very wealthy people, what they do is they hire accountants and tax lawyers so that they can legally pay as little tax as possible. Now, for those of you that watched the 2016 presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, you'll remember that Donald Trump talked about why he pays less in taxes. And he said partially because it's depreciation and because the tax code is set up in such a way that it benefits people that start their own companies. And so my humble goal for all of my students is that within a couple of decades, you will all own multiple real estate rental properties, and you make way more money from that than you do from your base salary at your company. And I want us to start, thinking like Warren Buffett, who said, you want to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And you can get started right now with real estate if you want to. And for those of you that are renting right now, I've been there too. It's hard, I get it. It took me until my 30s until I could buy my first apartment when I lived in New York City. But it's going to be the best investment you ever make. I promise you. I promise you. Yeah. So it's never too early to start saving up for real estate. Now, in terms of the real estate course, I'm just going to do this very quick. And I'll move on to the questions here. I don't want this to turn into an infomercial. But what's included also is an Excel dashboard. Okay. And what I do is I ask you a ton of questions. And based on the questions you answer in this real estate course, what I do is I create for you a massive, massive business plan as well as a one-page write-up. Okay, and I explain everything, what property to buy, how real estate works, mortgages, the easy way to understand mortgages, income statement, your balance sheet, tons of formulas, real estate investment trusts, and much, much more. Now, there's 4 ways to take the course. There's the primary residence track. If you just want to buy your first house, that's how we say it in Canada. Americans, it's not house, it's house. There's also the residential investment rental track here, and the commercial investment rental track, or take the all track as well. I teach you everything from scratch. You don't need to know anything about finance, accounting, business, real estate, etc. to benefit from this course. Now, if you're interested in checking it out, what you can do is go to learn.harounventures.com. And for everybody that has or will sign up for my silver, gold, platinum, or diamond MBA degree program, you get it for free. Okay, now the way it works is for all of my MBA students, go to the very last lecture of your curriculum in order to access the real estate elective for free. Quick side note, my 10th one-year gold and platinum MBA program is actually going to be starting on Monday, January 27th. It's going to be every Monday and Tuesday between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Pacific time. I don't want you to buy it though, because there's going to be a Black Friday sale coming up, I think next week or the week after. And I'm the worst salesperson ever, but I care. Okay. All right. Let me now move on to some questions here. All right. So first up, Chetan wrote, can you give some websites which can help me to know economic events or results coming up this week, next week, etc., that can impact the market? Yeah, absolutely. So the best source for this is Bloomberg. So what you can do is you can do a search for Bloomberg Economic Calendar. Bloomberg Economic Calendar. And then what you can do is you can filter it right here so that you can look at whatever countries you're most interested in. So down here I have the United States selected, United Kingdom, and a bunch of other countries. And you can look through here, click through all the data as well to learn a lot more. Now, obviously, the most important thing that we're going to be paying attention to is interest rates. The Federal Reserve just cut rates. They probably won't cut again this year, just given the fact that we have a president who is probably going to create a bit of inflation. I don't know how much yet. And the reason why I think interest rates are going to be going up next year because of inflation is because Trump is going to be putting on tariffs. So he said he'll put on 10% tariffs for European countries and much higher for China and other countries. And what he's also, and whenever you do that, what happens is it makes imports more expensive for American consumers, which means inflation. Inflation goes up, they have to raise interest rates to cut inflation. Another thing that's happening, you see the same news I see, is that there's going to be a mass deportation. And if that occurs, the extent that Trump wants it to occur, then what will happen is the labor force will be really, really tight. Unemployment will go down a lot. And if employment is very, very low, like ridiculously low, then what happens is prices go up as well. Yeah, so labor is one of the most important things to look at, the price of labor, when it comes to inflation. Yeah. Now, when it comes to interest rates in general, we all have to pay very close attention to it because it impacts all of our lives more than you know. Now, when it comes to real estate, for those of you that own a house or want to buy a house, you look closely at what's called the 30-year rate. And what's happening is the expectations are that rates are going to increase. And that's going to impact all of us. So whenever you hear the news, the media talk about interest rates going up, that's bad for real estate investors longer term. And so the bottom line is, if you have a mortgage, if your rate is pretty high, I want you to call your mortgage broker right now to see if you can refinance. And for more details, you can always go to the complete real estate course, which is at this link down here. All right, let me move on to more questions here. All right, Theodore, how are you? Good to see you. And thank you so much for that donation, the €2 donation. Appreciate that. God bless you. That will go directly to the schools that we're building in Africa. We finished Rwanda last year. We're building Kenya now. And I've got a couple more that we're going to start working on in the next year or so. Thank you. Okay. And I'm going to die broke. Every penny I make longer term is going to go towards building these schools. All right, next up, Alex wrote, I interviewed for a finance job a month ago. The director believed that I have valuable skills to do the work. I followed up once, but no response. Should I follow up again? If so, what can I say? Yeah, you never want to follow up more than twice, okay? If you send 3 messages, it gets annoying. So the way you got to think about it is this. Whenever you go to an interview or an informational interview, understand that people are usually motivated in business by 3 things. Number 1, they want to make more money. Number 2, they want to get promoted. And number 2, they want to enjoy what they do. So whatever you follow up with, I want you to think of how do you enhance their life with one of those 3 things. It might be a 1-page stock write-up to help them make more money if they're in the finance industry, right? It might also be some AI product or app they can use to be much more efficient, or it could be an article that they might enjoy reading based on the meeting you had with them. So when you met with them, think about everything you talked about. So if you talked about baseball, for example, you can send an interesting article on baseball, something you're both passionate about, so you can connect from a personal level. Or you can send them a 1-page write-up. Let me give you a quick example of a 1-page write-up to provide. Now, in my MBA degree program, I provide you with all the templates you need to be able to add value to any meeting and any informational meeting, regardless of whether it's a finance meeting, HR, operations, etc. So what you can do is, in my MBA degree program, I teach you how to invest in pretty much all asset classes. And what I do is I created this here for you, which is accessible in the MBA degree program. And it's 100 steps on how to analyze any company before you invest, meaning publicly traded company. And it's broken up into 3 categories: qualitative research, quantitative research, and financial research. And I teach you not only how to assess the management team, the company's products, catalysts, etc., but also the total addressable market, and also how to forecast your financial statements so that you can value the company using 3 different methodologies. Now, the reason I mention this is because what comes out of this, and this is just dummy data here, is a 1-page report, okay? And you can print it or put it on the back of your resume or save it as a PDF and send it directly to the person you interviewed with. You got fundamental evaluation, analysis, and technical analysis here as well. And all this comes directly from the 100 tabs you complete. What's also included in this is a 100 to 150 page a report as well that you can send to this person you interviewed with, as well as a dashboard. And so it's a cliche, but Sun Tzu in The Art of War once said that every battle is won before it's been fought. So you can be preemptive and bring these write-ups with you. Now, for those of you that want to change careers to work in finance or another industry, or just get a higher in 250 chance, give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. I've got backup internet as well. I've got Starlink, which we're putting on top of the schools we're building in Africa. I've got Comcast, I've got AT&T as well. Comcast, I learned, has the worst customer service ever. We're back in business with my contingency plan. Okay, really quickly. So whenever you see an opening for a job or job opening online, if you apply, you have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. And the person that gets hired knows somebody at the company. So you have to aggressively network in order to get that job. Now, I have a book for you all you can download for free called Networking to Get a Job, Customers, or Anything You Want. I've humbly raised and managed over $1 billion as well. A lot of it has been through networking meetings. If you want to download that for free, what you can do is you can go right here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, you can go directly to my website, which is harounmba.com, and then scroll down to the bottom here and download the book right here. Your network is your net worth, and relationships are always more important than product knowledge. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that technical issue there. It happens. All right. All right. Next up, Theodore wrote here, I recently launched my podcast called Duacy Podcast on Spotify. Congratulations. Spotify's at an all-time high, up 100% this year, thanks to Joe Rogan and others. And then you wrote here, featuring guests from Vienna's electrical engineering department discussing studying and bachelor applications. Do you have any tips on gaining viewers? Yeah. So number 1, when it comes to social media, you have to be consistent. Like for me, for example, I'm consistently bad, but I'm consistent. This is the 295th weekly webcast I've done. And most people, when they start doing social media stuff, they're excited and then they quit after a couple of months. And they quit because they're not getting enough views or likes, or they get sensitive because of comments. And I've had brutal things written about me on social media, and you just got to take it with a grain of salt. And so what I do is I read them, and I feel like I'm on Jimmy Kimmel's show reading mean tweets. And I laugh at them as well, right? And so remember that unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. So you got to be consistent with all your social media content. Now, when it comes to social media in general, whether it's a podcast, YouTube channel, whatever, you have to use Gary Vaynerchuk's methodology and repurpose all of your content, okay? And it lets you work smarter, not harder. So for example, for me, on this weekly webcast, what I do is my team, after it's done, they'll take the 7 best questions asked and they'll repurpose them on TikTok or Instagram or elsewhere, or even on YouTube as YouTube Shorts. So you got to repurpose all this content so you can work smarter, not harder. Now, when it comes to articles that you're all going to write and should write, please, on LinkedIn, you can also repurpose that as well. And so what I did was I wrote a book when I worked in venture capital. I actually wrote 100 articles first on LinkedIn on the problem with traditional business education. Then what I did was I repurposed all 100 articles, 101 to be exact, into this book, okay? And anybody can write a book. I can provide you with the template for free if you want, just let me know. And the way I ordered the book was the articles that got the most views, controversial comments, but tasteful, etc., were put first in this book. And then when I started going to informational meetings, and I want you all to do the same as well, you give this book to people as well. Think about that. Think about how you'll impress somebody if you bring this 9-inch by 6-inch book that you make to an informational meeting. Who does that? And if you think that's too much work, and I say this with love in my heart as always, how badly do you want that job or that customer, etc.? Yeah. So the name of the game is repurposing everything. Yeah. All right. And then Manas, how are you? Manas joined my Silver MBA program recently. Great to see you. You wrote here, and he's from Calcutta. What a wonderful day and week. I'm going to miss the first little part. I'll see you in 120 minutes on our Silver Webcast. Yeah, so the Silver Webcast, it's a 1-hour Zoom I do every single week. You can see the details down here. For those of you in my Silver MBA degree program, just click on the first lecture. It's a 1-hour Zoom call we do after this weekly call is done. All right, next up, Robert F. wrote, can you please provide some tips on improving the performance of the business plan spreadsheet? Very slow. I think you're talking about a Udemy course of mine I published years ago on business plans. What you can do is join my MBA degree program if you want, because I have a brand new spreadsheet with much more detail in it. Let me see if I can go to it. It's right here, okay? And this is part of the Venture Capital Bootcamp. So in my MBA degree program, in the 3rd semester, we do a Venture Capital Bootcamp, which is based on my experience working in venture capital, sitting on boards of companies, mentoring Stanford Business School students as part of their MBA degree curriculum, guest lecturing there, etc. So I recommend checking this out. As you can see, it's much, much faster. For more details on the MBA degree program, you can always go directly to the link you see below here. Okay. All right. Or you can just go to this website right here. I'm trying to do green screen. I haven't done it in a while. The issue is my backlight here burnt out. So I'll stick with this for now. All right, fun. All right. And then Alindo wrote, how are you? Great to see you. It's been a while. You wrote, I finally got to rearrange my work schedule so I can tune in. Grateful for all you've helped me with. My pleasure. It's always great to see you, and welcome back. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, by the way, and everybody please keep typing your questions. By the way, do you think Elon Musk, with much power and position now in government, can create some ripples, even though he wants to get rid of the Fed? Yeah. So, okay, so a couple of things. He has his heart in the right place. I really believe that. And I think one of the reasons he bought Twitter was not just for marketing for himself. It was a brilliant idea. but also to stop the media from being too slanted in one political direction. I'm trying to be as even-keeled as I can right here. And the media basically died. The media died the night of the election. The media is really less relevant these days. The media all predicted that one political party would win when the other one won, right? So it's all about social media marketing now and not watching traditional television shows to get your news. Now, in terms of what Musk is going to do, he wants to cut $2 trillion, him and Vivek, from the U.S. Budget. Okay, and obviously it's a very controversial thing. I grew up in Canada and I love Ronald Reagan. He's one of the reasons I moved to the United States. So I do believe in very small governments. Now, I don't think he's going to cut $2 trillion, right? If he cuts $1 trillion, that's great. And one thing we have to understand about Donald Trump is he can get deals done. Love him or hate him, he can get deals done. Now, most people, when they negotiate, what they do is this. They say they want this, and the other party says they want this, and they meet in the middle. The way Trump does it, okay, right or wrong, is the other party says this, he says this, and they meet over here. So a little bit closer to what Trump wants, right? And so I don't think Trump is going to be as extreme as we expect in terms of 60% tariffs or whatever it is on China. And I think the ultimate judge of how he does as president from a capitalist perspective is the stock market. And if the market pulls back materially because of his economic policies, I think he'll shift pretty quickly. Yeah. And in general, things are never as bad as they seem. And things are also never as good as they seem. Yeah. And I learned that when I worked at a big hedge fund years ago. The best investors are always very unemotional, of course. Remember that. Things are never as good as they seem, and things are never as bad as they seem. All right, next up, Hamza wrote, wonderful morning, Chris. Good morning to you as well. God bless. God bless you more. Let me change my backdrop here to something that looks like GTA 6, I think, sort of. And when GTA 6 comes out, I got to pre-announce negatively here to everybody, okay? You're not going to see me for at least a month because I'm going to be playing day and night. Yeah. All right. And then Hamza wrote, I saw a quote that said, our forefathers would have laughed at the idea of a 9-to-5 job. What are your thoughts? Where did all this corporate America stuff originate from? Yeah. So for me, I've never done 9 to 5. I'm usually like 7 or 8 in the morning until 8 or 9 at night. I do take a break for the gym 6 days a week. I take 1 day off a week always. Yeah. But the harder you work, the luckier you'll get. Yeah. But I 9 to 5 is a little bit ridiculous in my humble opinion. Now, the trick is for all of us to be able to find an occupation that we really enjoy so it doesn't feel like work. And the way you know that you have the perfect career is if you get up in the morning and tell yourself you're not going to work, you're going to be going to do what you enjoy doing. And the way to think about what you want to do career-wise if you're not happy is this. Let's say that for the next 30 days, I tell you, you're not allowed to work, you can't travel, and you can't go to school. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever that answer is, that is your career, your passion, your profession, and you run after it with all your heart. And you don't give a damn what people think of you. Yeah. And my job, I feel like I'm your humble waiter. Okay, so the reason I do these calls is because I feel like I'm a waiter. And when you go to a restaurant, you look at the whole the menu, right? You're my customers. You're sitting at the table now. When you go to a restaurant, you look at the whole menu. But you only choose 1 or 2 items. And that's my job, to expose you to different types of careers, investments, etc. And you find what you're most passionate about. Another way to think about what your passion is to do this. Start listening to books, audible.com books, from people that inspire you, whether it's Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, Sir Richard Branson, etc. Listen to their books. What they do is they lower their cards and they give you their success, their blueprint for success. You can learn a lot. But also, if it sounds interesting to you or fun to you or not like work, what they do, then go after that. You can also set up tons of informational meetings, and I teach you how to do that in my MBA degree program. Set up a ton of informational meetings with people that work in different sectors and just talk to them about a day in the life. And for me, years ago, I wanted to be a lawyer. Can you believe that? And then, I was really inspired by John Grisham's book. I read them all. And then what I did was I set up informational meetings to sit down with lawyers. And I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. I went down to Harvard Law School to check it out. And after my informational meetings, and this is what you got to do, set up tons of informational meetings with people in different sectors. You talk about a day in the life to see if that's something of interest to you. And I came to the conclusion that, are you a jerk before you go to law school? Or is that something they teach you in law school? So you can always set up tons of informational meetings, but the bottom line is I'm here to humbly help you find your career passion, purpose, raison d'être, etc. All right, Shahar, how are you? Good morning. Ani chotze kafi achshav. And then Matthew wrote, hey, Chris, congrats to the new course. Great to see you. Matthew graduated from my Platinum MBA several years ago. And congratulations on the new kid. And also congratulations on the house you just purchased. That'll be the best investment you ever make. Good to see you, man. All right, next up, hey, Rafi, how are you? Rafi also graduated a couple of years ago. He's from the Philippines originally, lives in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, and is very passionate about Dogecoin and stocks. So Rafi wrote, hope all is well. Disney reported earnings today. Yeah, the biggest media company in the world, they blew it. They blew it out of the park. It was great. Yeah, stock's up a lot. Then you wrote, I just enrolled in your real estate course. Can't wait to watch you this weekend. You wrote, thank you, and Dogecoin to the moon. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. JK, good to see you again. Who wrote, good morning, Chris. Best blessings to you. Likewise, back to you. You wrote here, can you please provide the website of the equipment you use to connect multiple monitors to your PC or laptop? Yeah. Tell you what, email support at harounventures.com and I'll send you the link. Yeah. Okay. And then next up, Alex wrote, hey, Chris, Dave Ramsay, who doesn't believe in taking on any debt, and I disagree with him. But you wrote here, Dave Ramsay believes we should pay off all debt, including our mortgage, then start investing. But also there are people who utilize debt to accumulate wealth. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think he's wrong. Yeah, I respect his opinion, but I don't agree with him at all. And the reason I say that is because when you buy real estate, most people can't possibly pay off the whole mortgage. And real estate is the best investment you'll ever make. And it's a way to use responsible leverage. And let me give you a quick example. So as I mentioned in the real estate course, when you put down money for your down payment, you have to put down a minimum of 20%, right? If you put down less than 20%, you have to pay PMI insurance and higher fees usually. But you put down 20%. So let's say you bought a house for $100,000. You put down $20,000. And a couple of years later, it's worth $150,000. Well, you more than doubled your money because your $20,000 investment went up by $50,000. And it's responsible leverage because you're allowed to also write off the interest on your mortgage in certain countries, including the United States, Switzerland, etc. And if you set up your own company, you can write off an unlimited amount of interest on the mortgage, meaning more than the maximum amount of $750,000. And it's the best investment you'll ever make. And I promise you, and I put my life on it, I almost guarantee that whatever house or apartment you buy will be worth much more in 20 years. Even if you bought real estate at the peak of previous cycles, like back in 2007 before the financial meltdown in 2008, you'd still be up a lot. The same thing with stocks. If you bought stocks back in 2000 or at the peak of every other previous cycle, you'd still be up a lot. In fact, you'd be up 400% on stocks if you bought in the year 2000 when the bubble burst. And the reason is because cash is trash, right? And I've got a great prop here to show you. So the problem is the United States government keeps printing this stuff. And if they keep printing this stuff, it means your net worth goes down a lot. And the US dollar looks the exact same today as it did back in the 1930s and 1950s. It looks identical to this. So it's not fair. You work so hard to make money, and the government just prints more of it. So cash is trash. So that's why you have to buy stocks for the long run. You have to buy real estate, etc. And the best thing about real estate is that you're a stockholder. And what that means is this. It's illiquid. It's hard to sell. And whenever you sell real estate, you might have to pay 5 or 10% in closing costs, fees, etc. So you're a stockholder, and that's a good thing, because the best investment most people on this webcast have ever made is buying their own house. And you got to think the same way with stocks too. Always focused on the destination, not the path. You'll sleep better at night. For example, think of every great stock you've owned that you sold because it went down a little bit. And look at the historical chart of it. It's probably like this over time. As Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And whenever Buffett buys a stock, he assumes the market's going to be closed for at least 10 years. Be long-term focused. You'll sleep better at night as well. I promise you. Okay. All right. Next up, Eddie Q. Hey, Eddie, first time I see you on the call. Hope you join us again. Eddie wrote, do you recommend options for day swing trades? Also, give us your experience with options and market manipulation from market makers to stay off game levels. Yeah, I've never manipulated the market and got caught. No, I'm just kidding. I've never done market manipulation. It's not worth it. Yeah. And by the way, and I love the Reddit crowd. They inspire me so much. Let me say this a different way. If something happens like a GameStop event again, when GameStop went up 29.4 times in the month of January 2021, if retail investors are involved pushing a certain stock up or down and all getting together and say, hey, let's buy this stock and push it up so the hedge funds have to cover their shorts, etc., the SEC could go after us retail investors. Okay, I think that's what they're going to do next. So just be very, very careful in general. Now, when it comes to day trading, I'm adamantly against it. I know that's controversial, but I care. And the reason I'm against day trading is because markets go up and down in a short amount of time for random economic events or random geopolitical events or black swan events, meaning a rare event because swans are not often that black unless you live in Australia. And so I'll give you an example. Back in August, a lot of hedge funds and a lot of my clients actually, my retail investor clients as well, they lost a ton of money. The reason they did was because of a geopolitical event that they couldn't forecast called the unwinding of the Japan yen carry trade. You can't forecast that. So what people have been doing for decades is they've been borrowing Japanese yen and investing in US stocks. And the reason why that trade worked forever was because the Japanese economy wasn't really growing. It's in secular decline. It's very sad. And so people would borrow yen at a low rate and invest in US stocks. Then what happened was that the Minister of Finance in Japan unexpectedly raised rates a lot back in August. And that caused a massive short squeeze. And a lot of people had to sell their US stocks. And the market actually went down a bunch. You can't forecast that stuff. Now, swing trading is a bit different, right? If you want to transact based on if stocks are overbought or oversold or holding support levels or not holding support levels, that's okay, over a couple of months or so. But make that a tiny percent of your portfolio, please. Now, when it comes to options in general, and I have an options course you can check out as well. And I'll show you the template that I provide my students. It's over here, I think. Here it is here. Yeah. So I teach you everything about options. And if you're in my MBA program, you get this for free as well. But the way that options works is it's kind of like an insurance policy. Okay, so let me give you an example using Coca-Cola, and I'll show you where to get the data in a second. So a life insurance policy protects you. You pay a small amount each month. And if God forbid something happens to you, right, then this small amount goes up a lot. Okay, and that's what an option is like. Okay, and I'm worth more dead than alive. It is what it is. But let's say that you own a ton of shares in Coca-Cola and you own a massive amount and you don't want to sell it for whatever reason. Maybe it is because you don't want to pay taxes. But you're really worried that Coke, ticker KO, could go down a lot before the end of the year. Then what you can do is you can buy an insurance product, a derivative insurance product called an option. Specifically, it's a put option. And what that means is in a certain amount of time, if Coke goes down, the put option goes up. You can make a lot of money on this. So that's kind of like insurance. You hedge yourself. And worst case scenario, you just lose this amount here. Now, when it comes to calls, which is the opposite of a put, it works like this. Let's say that, I don't know, you're investing in ticker 9432 NTT Docomo. right? Japanese company. I worked in the IPO years ago at Goldman. And you think the stock is going to go up a lot. You can buy a call option, okay? You spend this much money on it. And if NTT Docomo goes up a lot in a certain amount of time, you can make a fortune. And the most you can lose is this right here. But I want you to be very careful with options. It's cool to buy them, buying puts and calls, but I don't want you to underwrite them, meaning sell them, because you can lose a massive amount of money, more than you invest, if you get what's called randomly assigned. I can go into more detail on that if you want me to. Now, let's take a quick look at an option, and I'll pull up NVIDIA call options for fun. All right, let's check this out. All right, let me go over here. Whoops, sorry, guys. All right, so what I'll do is let's go to finance.yahoo.com, and then I will type here NVDA, EA Sports in the game. All right. And you'll know that a company has options if you click here on options and you see data behind it. So of course, NVIDIA has options. So what you do is you select the strike price, meaning when will the option expire. So I'll say December 27th. Okay, it's usually on a Friday. All right, unless there's a holiday. Then what you do is you pick the strike price, right? And so anything that's blue is in the money, meaning worth something. So let's say that I think that NVIDIA by year end is going to be worth over $200. So I can buy this call option here for this price here. Okay. And if NVIDIA is well over $200, by December 27th, then this makes money. If not, all I lose is what I paid for this contract. And they're sold in lots of 100. Okay. Let me move on to the next question here. Please keep typing your questions. All right. All right, moving on to Owen, who wrote, hey, Chris. Hey, Owen, how are you? Give me 1 second here, guys. I was curious about your thoughts on what separates a good marketing strategy in a very saturated market/industry versus a bad marketing strategy. Yeah. So marketing and sales is quite different, right? A lot of people want instant gratification. With sales, you make money right away. With marketing, it's like dating. My wife works in marketing. And so you don't get married after one date. You get married after, say, 20 dates, right? And so, like before you buy a Toyota or any car, you usually see at least 20 commercials. So you have to be very, very long-term focused when it comes to marketing strategies. And in my MBA degree program, I teach you about the lifetime value of a company and how to look at NPV and discounted cash flow when forecasting how much to spend on a marketing strategy. In terms of differentiating yourself, I don't care if your business is just you or 20 people or IBM. The best way to differentiate yourself when competing in the marketplace is through customer service. A company is only as good as its customer service. In fact, Jeff Bezos once said that profitability and customer service are almost perfectly aligned in the very, very long run. So what you can do if it's a startup of you and you're competing against big companies, you can always say, unlike big companies, I am always available from a customer support perspective, 6 or 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And that's why 2 girls or 2 guys in a garage can run circles around big tech companies, right? Because of better customer service. It takes a while to move a big ship around. Startups are not as bureaucratic. All right, moving on to the next question is... Oh, Aquahood, how are you? Aquahood, oh my God, it's been years, dude. Okay, so you're Michael from Wales. And you grew up right beside Sacha Baron Cohen. You told me this years ago on this weekly webcast. And that's the Borat guy. And the funny thing you told me about that was that he was so generous that he gave all his toys away to you and all of your buddies. And then his mother had to knock on every door and ask for the toys back. Great to see you, man. It's been a while. You wrote, I'm watching with my 2-year-old daughter. How are you? Oh, congratulations on a daughter. How are you? I'm always great. Dude, enjoy every second, man. Before you know it, they're gone. I got 2 in university, 1 in high school now. And by the time your child is 12, you've already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. Great to see you. God bless you, man. All right. Moving on to Botch, who wrote, hey, Chris, greetings from Dubai. Great to see you as well. I spent a lot of time in Dubai raising capital, working there too. You wrote, sending to you the best greetings. God bless you. And thanks for the valuable knowledge. God bless you much, much more. All right. Moving on to Siba, who wrote, hey, Chris, how do I evaluate sports NFTs? Is rarity alone sufficient, or does a deeper understanding of the sport culture, players, and key moments also give an edge? Yeah, I've played around with that a lot. The crypto I've been using is Wax in order to purchase sports NFTs. I would only invest in sports NFTs from really, really reputable companies. Like if Topps is still somewhat involved, for example, then you want to look at supply, right? And with all investment classes, including real estate, it's always about supply. And my grandfather, God bless him, he used to always say to me, Chrissy, buy land, they're not making it anymore. So you want to look at the underlying supply, right? And similar to traditional baseball cards or sports cards, I'm still a nerd. I collect tons of them as well. I have tons that are PSA 10, Toronto Blue Jays cards. But you always want to look at the rarity score. Okay, so never, it's like buying art. Never buy prints of art where there's an unlimited number of prints made. And the best way to think about NFTs is to think about art. And if you see it on your wall, it'll say print number 3 out of 200, for example. Make sure supply is quite low. Buy from a reputable company as well. And I'm very bullish in that market right now, because nobody is. And you got to be a contrarian. And as Warren Buffett said, be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Yeah. You also want to think to yourself with NFTs or any investment class or any stock this. In 5 years, will this investment and the market it's in be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And with stocks, that will stop you from getting seduced into buying value traps. Stocks that are cheap for a reason. The same thing with sports cards, etc. Will NFTs be more popular in 5 years or 10 years or 50 years than today? Of course. Right? The next generation is going to be collecting virtual cards, not those cardboard cards that I had. Yeah. All right. Jason, how are you? Great to see Jason from Houston, who's in my Platinum program, who's now a top voice on LinkedIn. Congratulations. Nicely done. All right. Moving on to Spade, who wrote, thanks, Chris, for the introduction to your book. I'll probably be grabbing a copy. Yeah, just download the digital version. Instead, it's free. Yeah, thank you. You wrote, I'm a finance graduate, but really, I feel like I didn't take away much technical knowledge. I need a refresher. Yeah, you can check out my courses if you want. My MBA degree program is now close to 500 hours. You can go to this link here to learn more details about it. And the problem with traditional MBA schools is they don't teach you the most important skills to be successful. So for me, when I graduated from Columbia with an MBA in finance back in the year 2000, I'm that old. I was kind of upset. I didn't learn how to manage my own money. I was taught how to manage other people's money. They didn't teach me how to present. They didn't teach me how to network. They didn't teach me how to sell, get customers. They didn't teach me how to write a business plan. Ask anybody that graduates from a decent business school, do you know how to start a company? The answer is no. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I made this program right here. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Indigo Kid wrote, how can I effectively network on LinkedIn with only 5 in-mails per month? Any tips on setting up more meetings within this limit? Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works on LinkedIn is you never run out of in-mails if people respond. So if you have 5 in-mails per month and one person doesn't respond, but the others do, you still have 4 left. Yeah. So that's what I would say. You can also pay for the premium version, which I recommend doing if you have the budget. It's the most important investment you'll ever make. Networking, relationships are more important than product knowledge. You can also check out my MBA degree program at the link you see below, and I'll help you make the best LinkedIn profile ever. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, I still think small government is better, maybe autocratic, but pretty quick and effective. Yeah, small ships can turn around quickly. Yeah. I think our government is bloated. I believe in small government, and I'm more of a libertarian, to be intellectually honest. Okay. All right, next up, Winter Music wrote, I've gone through your business plan tutorial on Udemy. Would it be possible to reach out to you regarding reviewing my business plan? Unfortunately, I can't do that. I'm so sorry. If you join one of my programs, whatever, you can. There's always a Zoom call So, for example, every week after this weekly call is done, as you can see per the graphic below, if you go to the first lecture of the Silver MBA program, there's a 1-hour Zoom call, and I can help you there. Yeah, I apologize. I have more than 2 million students in every country. It's tricky for me. Yeah, and we have a better version of the business plan as well in the MBA program, which is this template right here. Okay. Okay, let me switch to, I'm going to try this backdrop here. It's got video. It's not perfect, but I'm trying here. Okay. All right, and next up, Manas wrote, I agree probably with everything you say, but anyway, it's my last term anyway, so he has nothing to lose here. This 4 years. Okay, you're talking about Trump. Yeah. We live in interesting times, that's for sure. All right, Vinay wrote, I want to start a K-12 school, but I don't know my audience or where to start. Any advice or examples of others who've done it successfully? Yeah. If you want, send me an email to support@harounventures.com, and I'll introduce you to somebody that has started tons of K-12 schools online, and she actually buys them all over the United States. It's like a private equity role. Yeah. But regardless of what kind of company you want to start, you always have to write a business plan. You know, failing to plan is planned to fail. And I help you with that as well in my programs. All right. All right, ESW wrote, you inspired me to write a book. Awesome, thank you. Any tips on turning writing into a business and reaching a bestseller status? Yeah, in order to get bestseller status, it sucks, but you have to actually get a publisher to work with you. Right, so I self-published almost all of my books, including this one. And Obama's publisher of his books reached out to me after Forbes wrote about this stuff. You can search for it, and they wanted to buy the rights and give me royalties. I said absolutely not, because if you work with a publisher, right, I would get just like $1 per book, and they would own the IP as well. And I recently, I did the only book I'll ever do with a publisher. Recently, it's McGraw-Hill reached out to me, and we published this book, Finance Essentials for Managers. It's tough. It's tough because when you partner with a publisher, right, you get excited and everything, but you have to market the book yourself still. Yeah. If you really want to market yourself, you're going to have to do tons and tons of interviews. And it's easy to get informational meetings with people that work at big publications to be interviewed. I've done a lot of it. You can just search my name online. You got to leverage LinkedIn as well. And you got to be controversial. So, for example, Elon Musk. Like, have you ever seen a Tesla commercial? Neither have I. But he's controversial, very controversial with his opinions. And the same thing with Mark Benioff. Who created the largest employer here in San Francisco, Salesforce.com. He was very controversial. How? He used to go on all the media talk shows and finance programs, and he would say software is dead because of cloud computing. That was the future when he launched Salesforce back in 1999. So you have to be controversial, and you have to network a lot as well to get meetings with people that work at big publications, which I can teach you how to do in my MBA program if you're curious. All right, let's move on now. All right. Huang wrote, I need a remote job as soon as possible to care for my grandmother. I'm open to any role. What's the fastest way to find something remote? Yeah. What you can do is you can go to Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, and start advertising your services there. Whether it's brochureware or PowerPoint presentations or coding or APIs or anything technical, you can do it there, or copywriting even. If you want to do it on a more full-time basis or part-time a little more, you can go to Upwork.com and look to advertise your services there as well. What you can also do if you want is go to Udemy.com and then just create online courses, and everybody has something to teach. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Googly, who wrote, I want to write as a thought leader, but I feel underqualified. How can I boost my confidence and engagement? Yeah. So when it comes to being a thought leader, you got to think like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. Right? And every thought leader had to start somewhere. So what I would do is I would opine or write articles on LinkedIn I'd repurpose that content, as I mentioned at the beginning of today's webcast, into other forms as well, like books, as well as YouTube videos, Instagram shorts, whatever, TikToks. Yeah. And you got to keep at it, and you got to be consistent, right? And so a lot of my students have done incredibly well networking by, on LinkedIn, writing one article every single week. Eventually the market will take notice. People will reach out to you and think of you as a thought leader. But it's got to start from within. And again, be consistent. It's going to feel lonely at first. You might not get that many likes, but who cares? Just keep at it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. All right. Eddie Tunch wrote, what's your view on the TLT trade with those rate cuts? So I'll talk about my thoughts on rates in general. Okay. So I think that rates are going to go up at least 100 basis points next year, maybe more. And I say that because, what Donald Trump's economic agenda is, it's inflationary to the extent that if you put up tariffs, what happens is imports become more expensive. And if you do mass deportation, the labor force gets tighter, meaning unemployment goes down a lot, which means that wages go up. And so if import prices go up, and if labor costs go up, that means inflation goes up. Therefore, the Federal Reserve will have to raise rates as well. And a lot of people are talking about the Great Depression. I don't think we're going there. But what happened during the Great Depression in the 1930s in America was America thought at that point in time, how do we protect our economy? How do we help it grow? Well, let's create tariffs. And they created massive tariffs, which pushed us into a Great Depression. Yeah. And again, I don't think we're going there, but I am mindful of, I don't want tariffs to be too high. I don't mind protecting certain industries, and I don't think Trump is going to overdo it because the market is going to judge him in real time. Yeah. All right. And then Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. See you in the next webcast. Much love to you and your family forever. Thank you. And then he wrote, by the way, how old is Andrew this year? Not much different from me, maybe. Yeah, so my son Andrew, so he's third year Berkeley. So he's 20. It goes up by one every year. Yeah. And he's really interested in finance. He's doing tons of informational meetings as well. Yeah. All right, moving on to Albert wrote, and that's my son Dylan's middle name. He wrote, hey, Chris, love your content. Thank you. I want to be a day trader. I'm joking. Okay, good. I love you. You wrote, I wanted to ask for insight in how it is the job of equity derivatives trading at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. So the way it works is whenever you see a trading floor on television, that's not the New York Stock Exchange. It's usually an investment bank's trading floor. Okay, so for example, Goldman Sachs, and I worked on the trading floor as well. Goldman Sachs, you'll have a lot of people sitting on the floor yelling, talking, whatever, to their institutional clients, meaning mutual funds and hedge funds. And on that floor, you'll have salespeople that cover a certain region to sell the products of Goldman Sachs, like IPOs, for example. And then they'll also make money through commissions. You'll also have what are called sales traders that sit on that floor. And their role is to talk to buy-side traders from mutual funds and hedge funds. And they just execute the trade. Then you'll have traders that actually trade different markets, right? So you'll have a trader that does commodities, another one that does certain technology stocks, another one that might do Latin America, another one might do healthcare stocks, etc. And what they'll do is they'll use the firm's proprietary capital, or the firm's money, to try to make money. Yeah. And some of them do great. A lot don't, though. Yeah. Now, when it comes to derivatives in general, quite often they sit on that trading floor or close to it, and they'll create complex financial instruments that will be sold quite often to the buy side, meaning hedge funds and mutual funds, right? And the hedge funds and mutual funds, when they buy those derivative products, it's like an insurance policy based on what instruments they own. They know they're getting screwed on pricing, but they don't really care as much because it is portfolio insurance for them. Yeah. All right. And for those of you not familiar with derivatives or options, so derivatives, so The global derivatives market is 6 times bigger than the global stock market. It's huge. And derivatives, for those of you who took calculus, it means the rate of change. So you can make money or protect money based on the rate of change of something. And under the derivatives umbrella, you've got options, right? Puts and calls. You got swaps. You got futures. All that stuff. Yeah. And a lot of people transact in options and derivatives not to make money, but as a way to protect money. It's kind of like buying an insurance policy, life insurance. Okay. And then Eileen wrote, I am one of the alumni from the first Haroun MBA degree class back in 2019. That's right. Chris is the real thing. He has helped me with my business and my life. And you wrote here, Chris, do you remember my horse story? You're darn tootin' I do. You gave this to me during the graduation event. I still have it right here. And I'll tell you all what this means. So Eileen is great. She's based in Atlanta. I visited with her a couple of years ago when I went to the Coca-Cola factory as well. So I was helping Eileen, and Eileen's last name is Deo Gracias, which is the most beautiful last name ever because it means thank God. But Eileen Deo Gracias, when I was helping her with her business plan as part of my MBA degree program, she found out she owns a horse. So she gave this to me during graduation. It's great to see you. Thank you. All right. All right. And then next up, Uli wrote, I'm currently studying comp sci. I have online certification in Excel and quant finance. I'm also studying Mandarin on the side. How would I stack up against finance students? Yeah. In asset management / investment banking. Yeah. Well, I think based on what you learn online or comp sci course you take at a university, you can stack up quite well. The problem is with traditional finance education, it's very theoretical. Right? And the way it works in the real world is quite different. So I think that you can study online and run circles around the competition easily. Now, when it comes to studying computer science, I'd think twice about it. And here's why. Okay, take this with a grain of salt. What I'm about to say is controversial. So Jensen Huang, who is the brilliant founder and CEO of NVIDIA, he said recently in an interview that he implied that it doesn't make sense for students to study computer science anymore. And the reason he said that is because AI is the quintessential, comp sci product. In the future, we're going to be using AI for code and to help us, with programming and stuff. So Jensen argues that you're better off studying liberal arts. And he mentioned also that he thinks that the U.S. education system is going to pass the rest of the world in the coming decades. And the reason he said that is because in the United States, unlike other economies, in the United States, quite often when you go to university, you start in liberal arts and you don't declare your major until your second or third year. And studying liberal arts helps you to be creative, think outside the box, etc., when it comes to innovation. And Steve Jobs used to always say that Apple is at the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. Yeah. So anyway, that's Jensen Huang's opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, how are you? Yeah, I graduated from my my MBA degree program, the Gold Program. I think it was last year. Great to see you. We're building I think we agreed to build a school in Ghana. Yeah, with your mother's help. All right. And Eileen wrote, my son now is working as a mechanical engineer at Hubble Electric, and my daughter is a junior at Georgia Tech. Nicely done. Nicely done. When I was there and I met you, my son Andrew was doing a summer class at Georgia Tech. You wrote, we've used your techniques for writing the resume and setting up informational meetings. Oh, awesome. Awesome. And you wrote, I'm thankful for what I've learned. And I passed on to my kids. Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you. And God bless you. And I think your husband's name is Norbert. I haven't met him, but I remember he's really funny with the firecracker video you sent me a while ago as well. Great to see you. All right, I miss you. Next up, I want to get started with real estate, but I've heard horror stories about being a landlord, and I don't know what else there is. How much and what do I need to get started? Thanks. Yeah. So you don't need much, right? You can get started for 100 grand or less if you want to do Section 8 housing investment, right? Which means affordable housing, which is subsidized by the U.S. government, where they basically guarantee that they pay you rent. Otherwise, they get rid of the tenants. Yeah. Yeah. But what I recommend doing, and this is what I do, is I recommend getting a property manager. Okay. So the way it works is if you invest in real estate, you can have somebody else manage it for you. And it might cost you 10% of the rent each year. It's totally worth it though, because you don't have time to go find tenants. And if you have 2 or 3 months of vacancy, you might not make money on the property. And so they ensure that vacancy issues go away, more or less. And they also take care of all other issues like collecting rent, or if one of the tenants complains about, I don't know, an issue with one of the appliances, etc. Obviously, you got to pay for it, but they help you with it, and you get your life back that way as well. Yeah, you can't scale your real estate empire without doing that first. Yeah. Okay. And then Masa wrote, do you think Bitcoin will reach 1 million before 2025? No, absolutely not. Will it reach 1 million one day? Of course, in my humble opinion. Yeah. Please do your research first. And I've always said this, never put more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptocurrencies, and never put more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth in any one crypto. For me, I've invested in Bitcoin for years. I started back in 2013. I have an IRA set up, a separate LLC, that's a Bitcoin holding trust that I set up years ago. Yeah. Okay, just be very long-term focused, right? And Bitcoin's over 90,000 right now. If you're going to buy it now, I mean, you can always wait for a pullback, right? You want to buy when people are freaking out, but I want you to sit on it forever. It's kind of like real estate, right? So I own a bunch of houses. I'm never selling them, ever. You got to go in with that mentality. In fact, Warren Buffett, when he buys a stock, and he's owned Coca-Cola since 1990 or so, when Warren Buffett buys a stock, he always tells himself after he buys it that he assumes the market's going to be closed for at least 10 years. Now, of course, the market will not be closed for 10 years, but that's how long-term focused he is. And you have to be the same way. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Luigi. Great to see you again. And I always smile when I see your name because my little sister, Katie, who passed away this summer, God bless her, I used to play Nintendo with her, and she was always Luigi. I was Mario. That's right, Katie. Yeah. But Luigi wrote, hey, Chris, good day. Can you explain a little bit about Basel III regulations and if these policies only apply to U.S. banks? Thank you so much. I don't know. I know what Basel is. I don't know what Basel III is. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. But I will show you how I learned everything in 10 seconds. Okay? This is powerful. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ChatGPT right here. Okay. All right. Oh, God, I have to log in. All right. Continue with Goog. There's my son. All right. So what I always do is I go to ChatGPT and I ask it to explain stuff to me at an 8-year-old level, for example. So, or 8th grade level. So I'll write this. Watch this. Explain to me at a 10th grade level what Basel III is. 50 words max. Basel III is a global set of banking rules made after the '08 financial crisis to make banks safer. It requires banks to hold more money in reserve and limit risky loans, reducing the chance that they'll collapse and hurt the economy. These rules make banks more stable and protect customers. That was probably done through Bernard Frank, who was a congressperson at the time who headed up that committee. So whenever there's a financial crisis, what happens is there's new regulations, right? So basically what that means is this. Banks have to have a certain amount of cash on hand always, just in case, they run out of cash. And back in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, what happened was the U.S. government created a program called TARP, which stands for Treasury Asset Repurchase Program. And what that did was they bought $1 gazillion worth of crappy assets, mortgage-backed securities, etc., from the banks. And by doing that, they recapitulated the banks, meaning banks had enough cash to keep the economy afloat. Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Michael says he's from London, not from Wales. Okay, I'll remember that. Yeah. All right, moving on to another Michael who wrote, Chris, I just started your crypto class. For somebody who's technically challenged, I don't know Excel. Any suggestions? Yeah. What you can do is if you want, go to this link right here. and I have an Excel course as well where I teach you Excel from scratch. And that real estate elective that I just published, the Excel file, I got it down to, I think it's less than 8 megs right now, right? So this whole spreadsheet here, I got it to about 8 megs. There's no code in it. And the way you can keep your files small is you reuse the same images over and over and over again. So it's a big image that you crop. Yeah. And I can run through this in more detail if you want me to. Yeah. All right, let me go back here. All right, let's switch to a different backdrop just to mix it up. I got to get that hair light here. Yeah, okay. All right. Next up, Derek wrote, I'm taking the CFA, Certified Financial Analyst designation, at level 2 next Friday. And level 2 is the hardest one of the 3, yeah. How do you feel about the CFA and other finance credentials in general? Yeah. And I'm going to give you a tip in a second that's going to help everybody in this call to be able to maybe pass all multiple choice exams without reading the question. Give me a second, though. All right, so in terms of CFA, so I think CFA is more respected than a traditional MBA degree program in finance circles. And the largest concentration of CFAs in the world per capita is Toronto. Yeah, and so I know a lot about it. I wrote level 1 8 million years ago. If you're going to do the CFA, and for those of you not familiar with it, it's a 3-year exam. And all you do is you write one exam every year on a certain date. And if you pass, you're a CFA charter holder. Now, the CFA Institute, what they do, AIMR, is they recommend a ton of textbooks that cost you close to $1,000 to buy or $500 to $1,000. Don't buy them. Don't waste your time. You can work smarter, not harder, by buying Schweizer books. Okay, Schweizer is owned by Kaplan, which is owned by the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. You can get them for 30 or 40 bucks used on eBay. Yeah. Yeah. But in general, let me talk about how to pass exams. All right. This doesn't always work. Okay. But if you're given a multiple choice exam, you can get a lot of the questions right without reading the question. Here's how. And you got to think like a lawyer. Okay. And I hate to say that, but here we go. So let's say one of the questions is this. What color is this house? And the answers are A, B, C, D. A is, well, it's always yellow. You know, B is, it's sometimes orange. C is, it can never be black. And D is none of the above. Okay. So the right answer is the one where a lawyer can find an exception. Let me explain. So think of a Venn diagram and think of a lawyer, right? You know, lawyers are a pain in the neck. We all know them. They argue with everything we say. Think about a lawyer trying to find an exception, right? That's what law is in contracts. You look for exceptions. So it's always yellow? No, it's not always yellow. I mean, what if I change the lighting in here? You know, there's orange lights. It can appear orange. It's never black. Well, wait a second. It can be black, you know, if it's really dark, whatever. So the right answer would be ones that include the words sometimes or maybe. And the reason I say that is because you might be able to find an exception. So extreme words in multiple choice answers are almost always wrong, meaning words like it's always this, it's never this. The right answers are the wishy-washy ones, like it's sometimes. It's sometimes orange, saying it's always yellow. Yeah, and obviously that doesn't work with numbers, but if you're stuck on an exam, you can always use that methodology. Okay. All right. Okay, LOL. I'm thinking of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Wrote, how hard is it to get into a hedge fund without a master's at 23? Yeah, not as hard as you think. And you don't need a master's to get in, right? And if you don't believe me, you can always go to LinkedIn and do an advanced search on a hedge fund. And you'll see a lot of people work at those hedge funds that don't have masters, right? In fact, a lot of people will go to, sometimes community college, and they'll start off in the back office or the mailroom, and they'll work their way up to the trading floor. It happens all the time. In fact, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs for decades, Sidney Weinberg, he didn't have an undergraduate degree. He started in the mailroom. Right? The same thing with Simon Cowell from American Idol. The former president of ESPN started in the mailroom. So did tons and tons of other people as well. You have to network aggressively And what you can also do is you can create one-page write-ups, which I teach you in my MBA degree program as well, templates you can bring with you. And when you go to informational meetings, as I mentioned earlier, you always want to help the person you're meeting with, help them make money, get promoted, or enjoy their job. You can help them make money by doing a one-page write-up, like I showed you, on stocks that you think they might be interested in. Or you can go to their public holdings. By law, if you manage over $100 million, you have to disclose what you own. So you can do write-ups on some of the companies they own, as well as new ideas. Yeah. All right. All right, moving on to Alex. That's my godson's name, who interned with me last summer. All right, so Alex wrote here, hey, Chris, it'd be great if you can share one or a few ideas on companies you're interested in initiating a position and invest long-term. I will certainly do my own research, yeah. So the best thing I can tell you is when you do your investment research, I want you to use my template here, okay? And I ask you 100 questions. And based on the questions I ask you in this 100-tab spreadsheet, all of your answers are going to feed directly into a one-page report and a detailed report. Yeah, and I don't want anybody to ever take advice from me or anybody you see on TV when it comes to what to buy. I always want you to do your own research, right? And so my humble thought process when it comes to telling my students what to buy is I say this. If I give you a fish, you'll eat for a day. If I teach you how to fish, you'll eat for a lifetime. And if you do your own investment research on stocks, you're not going to freak out and sell at the worst time. You know, Warren Buffett said that the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff and it goes on sale. Yeah, so always do your research. And all these templates I provide you with, the business plan template, the real estate template, the investment template, and many more, they're all there as a safety net to ensure that you've done the research so that you can be a long-term investor. All right. All right. But if you're not sure where to put your money, what I usually do, I'll tell you what I do. And I've publicly disclosed before. When I'm not sure where to put my money, I just throw it in the S&P 500, specifically ticker VOO, because the fees are quite low. And also because the very last company on this planet to go bankrupt, so to speak, would be the U.S. government. But the best way to invest in the United States is through the S&P 500. Yeah, and I think we're going to a super cycle. So I believe that the S&P 500 will be up an average of 15 to 20% every year for the next couple of decades. And of course, there will be down years. There'll be big down years. I don't know the path, but I know the destination. And one of the reasons I'm bullish on the S&P longer term is because of AI. Now, a lot of the companies that I have as corporate clients, they're using AI to cut expenses a lot, right? Soon they're going to start using AI to grow their top line, meaning revenue, right? And I'm working with a large Bay Area tech company, I can't disclose which one, on creating an AI version of me to teach my classes in different languages. And it looks, I've seen the beta, dude, it looks and feels just like me, right? And I could speak Mandarin now. Yeah. I have enough problems with English as it is. Yeah. All right, let me move on to the next questions here. Ted, it's been a while, and Ted always has great dad humor and jokes. I love them, and I reuse your jokes. So you wrote here, hey Chris, hope you're well. Yesterday I told my wife to embrace your mistakes. She hugged me. Ouch. At least don't do that with your kids, though. Yeah. Okay, I love it. I love it. Yeah. All right. But when you meet me in real life, I am a big man. I mean, I'm a huge. I'm just kidding. The jokes are so bad. Now I understand why my youngest son, Dylan, when I drop him off at parties, he's in high school now. He's like, Dad, can you just pull over here? I'm like, but I thought it's the next block. He's like, can you just pull over here? I'm like, I get it. I get it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question is, Uli, thank you for that comment. IN wrote, in today's rapidly changing economic environment, what do you believe is the most promising investment option? Real estate, stocks, bonds, gold, or mutual funds? Yeah. So everything you look at, I want you to think in terms of supply. Okay. So with stocks, companies can always create more shares, right? So With mutual funds, they invest in stocks. Same thing. So I would always look at scarcity, right? So I do like gold longer term because they're not making it anymore. But of all those, I probably prefer real estate the most, because real estate will go up over time because, as my grandpa said, buy land, they're not making it anymore. And you can learn more about that if you want to by just, you can read the text below there. Yeah. All right. And Eddie wrote, United States have rights to quantum-resistant algorithms until 2030, with a deadline to implement by 2025. When those algos become public and quantum PCs are more dominant, all current crypto will be over. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The way I think about it, so the National Security Agency, the NSA, they create a lot of security protocols, right? Which are state of the art until they're broken, right? So SHA-256, all that stuff was created by the NSA, right? SHA-1 was secure for years, and then newer versions of it, SHA-Right, came out, and people broke them, right? So all security protocols, all algorithms, all technology, all IP will eventually become obsolete. The basis of capitalism is, there's enough capital out there to create and fund new investments that are, faster, better, et cetera. Yeah. All right. All right, moving on to Spada, who wrote, thanks, Chris, for your affirmations. You're most welcome. I'll definitely consider your MBA course. Thank you. What do you think about sustainability and ESG? Is this just a fad or will it stay? If it's staying, how would it evolve? Yeah. So ESG stands for environmental social governance, which is a way to invest in companies that don't do bad stuff. I think it's here for the long term. I think the rate of change in ESG adoption will decelerate a little bit over the next 4 years. Read into that any way you want to. And then reaccelerates in the long run. Yeah. Okay. And then Mark wrote, Chris, I'm thinking of starting a lead generation agency, but I don't know where to start. Any tips? Yeah. Just write a business plan, right? And you can always sign up for my MBA degree program at the link you see below. And we have a 15-hour venture capital boot camp as part of it, where I help you create your business plan from scratch, right? And it will really, really help you because I ask you a gazillion, 750 questions to be exact, about the company and market you want to create. Yeah. And whenever you're researching an industry or a company, you can always go to the annual report, meaning 10Ks, of companies that are publicly traded, and do a search for the word risks. And you can find all the issues that company has because by law they have to disclose all material risks. Yeah. Okay. All right, Alex wrote, hey, Chris, in the financial labor market, is it going to get better? I understand Trump can drive up inflation, which is bad, but how about lowering corporate taxes? Overall, is it positive for the labor market? Yeah. So I expect unemployment to go down. Maybe not for certain reasons you're looking at. If the government cuts taxes, then companies have more money to be able to hire people. However, there's going to be mass deportations, which will make the labor market tighter. Yeah, which I guess is good if you're looking for a job, but not really good if you're hiring people. Yeah. All right. What's my favorite REIT? Yeah, okay, so a REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. I'll show you one here, and I want you to do your own research, but I'm going to show you one of the lowest risk ones you can invest in. Okay, so right here, I'm in my complete real estate course dashboard. I'm going to go over here to REITs. So there's one called the Vanguard Real Estate Index, and it just opened up a window over here. Let me grab this window, pull it up here. Okay, here we go. So the VNQ, okay, this is a lower risk REIT. Now, REITs are real estate investment trusts, and what that means is, by law, they have to pay out 90% of their operating profits in the form of a dividend. And so REITs usually have high dividend yields. Now, before I show you the REIT in this one, which is probably 3 to 4%, before I show you the yield in this one, don't ever invest in a stock just because the dividend yield is high. Like if you see the dividend yield on a stock is like 10, 20, or 30%, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to make 10, 20, or 30% per year every year, I'm going to buy it. Don't do that. Do research first, because the market is telling you that dividend is not sustainable. So with this REIT here, and it's relatively low risk, my favorite ETF company is Vanguard. But if I scroll down here, you'll see that the yield is 3.87%. The expense ratio is low as well. You're only paying 13 pennies per $100 that you invest per year in this REIT. Okay, now the yield looks pretty low here, but I think it's stable and I think it's safe. And the reason I say that is because this is a diversified REIT index, which owns all of these REITs here, including Equinix, which is a data service provider, etc. Yeah, there are riskier ones as well, like this one here. Ticker is AGNC, which opened another window. AGNC. Whenever you see a higher dividend yield, you got to be careful. This is 15%. I don't know if this forward dividend is sustainable though. Okay. All right, let me get back to Wirecast. I'll do this background here. I'm having fun. All right. Next question I've got here is, Ted wrote, Chris, it's your job as a dad to embarrass your kids. Yes. Yes. One day, Dylan, my youngest one, he walked into my office, and this is where you're going to shut me off now. I was rapping. I had a Kanye West song on, just the music in the background, the beats, and I was rapping. I was dropping lyrics to teach a certain business lecture, and I was recording it. And I looked over, and Dylan's face turned white, and he said, "Dad, if you play that to anybody, I'm never talking to you again." Yeah. All right. And then Peter wrote, the trick is finding out how to monetize a job. Yeah. My dad here monetization. Yeah. If you meet me in real life, I'm a tiny man. Okay. Sorry. But I use this actually to teach programming in my Python and Excel course, etc. All right. True dat. Adverse Unicorn wrote, hey, Chris, nice to listen to a refreshing finance guy with straight answers. Thank you. What is your general thoughts or concern of margin loans for real estate acquisitions? Yeah, I'm against them. I'm definitely against them. Yeah. When it comes to investing in real estate, I always put down 20% of your own capital in a place. You can always use leverage if you own multiple homes, though. And so, as I explained in the real estate course, which is free for MBA students, if you start your own real estate company and you have one house, that is generating positive cash flow, as long as you've lowered the leverage amount on this, you paid off a lot of it. There is nothing wrong with getting another house that's losing money and put them into the same investment vehicle so you can pay less in taxes, of course. Yeah. Just don't lever up too much. And this is how a lot of very wealthy people in the United States make a killing, right? They pay less in taxes. Legally, it is what it is. And the system in the United States and in many countries is set up to favor those that start companies. The tax incentive is unbelievable. Yeah. And so, again, it's my goal for all my students within a decade or two to be able to buy a lot of real estate investment properties under a company that you're going to register after you talk to your lawyer and your accountant. So you can get much more money from these things when you're collecting or clipping rent every month than you do from your base salary. Yeah. All right. That's how a lot of people like Trump have made their fortunes. Yeah. All right. All right. And then center of the board, good to see you again, wrote, hey, Chris, I love your MBA. Thank you. I'm learning investing from the ground up. Do you advise or counsel on becoming a successful investor and raising money for non-props? Yeah. So starting a not-for-profit and starting a for-profit is pretty similar. And you mentioned you're in the MBA program. Thank you. You can always go to E31 through E35. That's Entrepreneurship Semester 3, Class 1, through Entrepreneurship Semester 3, Class 5, where I do the Venture Capital Boot Camp, which will help you with starting a not-for-profit, and it'll also help you with starting any company. Now, with me, what I've done is a lot of the profits from what I do are to build schools, right? And so we finished our school in Rwanda, and then a month or so ago, I was here in Kenya with one of my students, Myron, building another school. But when it comes to, and I'm fully transparent with everything, I don't have any charities in my name. Okay, so the school that we're building in Kenya is in Myron Crow's family's name, right? They're teachers, their entire family. And her dad is great. Her dad actually got a scholarship to the U.S. in the 1960s, and he actually saw Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech live in person. Pretty cool. So that's Kenya. In terms of Rwanda, so the charity in Rwanda is in Vital's name as well. And Vital actually lives in Germany, so it's a German charity in his name as well. And that's the school we built back there. We finished last year. Yeah. We all have to have a sense of purpose to what we do, right? Okay. All right. And Sanjay wrote, how are you? I'm always great. Good to see you. And then Dak, who's a new student here, great to see you. Hope you join us again, wrote, why is the long-term yield so high? Yeah, it's not too high, but it's higher right now. So we have what's called an inverted yield curve, right? I think it's 4.5% or so, the 30-year. And I'll get to that in a second. I'll show you. We have an inverted yield curve. And what that means is rates in 30 years are higher are higher than they are today. Actually, they're lower than they are today, which means the market is saying that we're going to be in a recession. We're going to be cutting rates. Let me go there with you in real time, and let's look at the yield curve, and I'll explain exactly what this means really quickly. Let's go to treasury.gov, okay? And I'm going to go to data, and we're going to go here to the yield curve, okay? You can come here with me if you want. We're going to look at the current month, and we'll go down here. Yeah. Actually, it's getting pretty flat, man. Interesting. Look at this. Before the election, the short-term rates, right, this is what's said by the Federal Reserve, were a bunch higher than the 30-year. And when you see that, it means that the market is telling you we might go into a recession in the future, because if in the future rates are lower, it means that the government's going to be cutting rates because things aren't going to be as good, right? So usually a healthy yield curve looks like this. But look at this. Oh my God, that's fascinating. The yield curve is almost flattening. Ignore what's in the middle for now. When looking at short-term versus long-term rates. Really interesting. The market might be optimistic on Trump. But let's just go to last year, and I'll show you a random one from last year. Yeah, look at this. If you go back to January 2023, right, the 30-year was way below the short-term rates, 1-month rates, right, by 100 basis points, right? And that's really bearish. So during the Biden administration, the marketplace was basically saying, I don't have faith in where the economy is going longer term, because back in January 2023, rates were 4.6% short-term. Long-term, they were 100 basis points below or so. And what that means is people are expecting a recession in the future, right? Because if rates are lower in the long run in 30 years, it means that the government has to cut rates a lot. Sorry for talking fast, I get excited. But this is fascinating. The yield curve is flattening out. Fascinating. Look at this. Wow. And this is saying that the marketplace has more confidence in the economy because of the new administration. I'm not going to get political here. Yeah. All right. All right. And then Chibike wrote, my coworker got let go yesterday due to AI trimming. Yeah. No, it's rough. It's rough. And the World Economic Forum estimates that next year, 75 million people will lose their jobs because of AI. But the World Economic Forum also predicts next year that 95 people will get new jobs because of AI. And so we have to try to disrupt ourselves before the marketplace does. Yeah. Similar to what Reed Hastings did with Netflix. He was the founder and CEO of Netflix for years. I met with him here in the Bay Area at a house party not that long ago. He's interested actually in education longer term. But Reed Hastings, what he did was he took his Netflix DVD business, the mail business, and he disrupted his own business model with streaming. And the writing was on the wall, right? And so he was long-term focused. Only founders can do that. Only founders can disrupt their own business model. So we have to think the same way. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now with AI. So I have AI right now. I'll show you how I've cut expenses with AI. So we can always go to, let's go to my courses here. So what I've done is down here, I have an AI product, okay? Which is made by Chatbase, which is based on OpenAI's ChatGPT product. I pay $20 a month for this. That's it. And this is my customer service. And it's based on the 7,000 hours of virtual instructor-led training I've done over the years here on YouTube, as well as the SRT files, meaning closed caption files from my content. All right, next question, and I read and answer everything. Okay. Sanjay wrote, what are the top 10 games you feel like everybody must have played in their life before they die? Okay. All right. Okay, this is not going to be that hard. GTA Vice City, GTA San Andreas, GTA 4, GTA 5, GTA 6 when it comes out in 8 million years, when it comes out next year. That's 5 there. Okay. Aside from that, Detroit Become Human, which is made by Quantic Dream, which will help you understand what AI is going to do in the future from an Android perspective. Okay. Uncharted 4. It's got great graphics. The Last of Us Part 1. Mario 64, because without that game, there'd be no GTA. That was the first open world game. And now I got to get one more for you. I'm a sports fan, so I'd say MLB The Show. That's just me. Yeah. EA Sports, it's in the game. All right. But I do play on my iPhone every day, SimCity, Build It. I love that game. And that's a great way to learn about real estate as well. Play SimCity. All right, next up, I have got, I've already started the nonprofit, but I'm having a tough time getting it funded. I'd like to actually teach kids chess full time. Yeah. What you can always do is you can go to a website called GoFundMe, and you can set up a GoFundMe there as well. Make sure you have a registered charity though, so you can provide tax receipts. Right? A lot of people are nice; they want to donate money, but they want to get a tax receipt for it. Yeah, really, really important. Yeah, and then also, when you're starting a company or a charity, small investors are always more work than big investors. And it's because smaller investors, with a startup at least, they have a bigger percentage of their liquid net worth with you. And so they're going to call you more often and ask, how's my investment doing, et cetera. Bigger investors don't really call that often. It can be a family office, for example. So what I would do is I would aggressively network using the networking book that I told you about, how you can download for free earlier on today's webcast. And I would meet with high net worth investors. Yeah, don't meet with institutions, meet with high net worth investors, because the sales cycle is quite short if you talk right to the decision maker. Okay. All right. All right, Sanjay wrote, I was going through some 13Fs. Seems like a lot of people were shorting Zoom. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I'm not up to speed on it. I know that Zoom got ahead of itself during the pandemic when it was the most obvious stock to own. So maybe it was overowned. I don't know. And there's also competitive pressures longer term from Microsoft giving away their Zoom-based competing product for free. Yeah, and Google also has a product that's free as well. Yeah, but I still like Zoom the best of all of them, and I pay for it because it works. Yeah. All right, next up, Peter wrote, outside of the United States, being an international trading currency, what helps keep the USA's credit rating so high, even with the massive national debt? Yeah. So the U.S. is not defaulted on their debt. They're the very last company on the planet that will ever go bankrupt. right? It is what it is, right? And they kind of have a lock on the reserve currency of the world at this point, which of course is the U.S. dollar. Yeah, and that's the way the United States economy was set up from day one, to be the lender of last resorts. And the United States economy really took off after World War II, when Europe was in shambles. And then Jean-Pierre Morgan, J.P. Morgan, and many others lent tons of money to Europe to rebuild Europe, etc. Yeah, so when you invest, everything is relative, right? It's all relative. And so the U.S. dollar, the U.S. government is the last company on the planet to ever go bankrupt. It is what it is. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but Chris, I heard that Saudi is going to price oil in renminbi, meaning Chinese yuan, and Russia is going to partner with them, and South Africa, etc. Left-leaning countries are never great investments in the long run, right? Capitalism works, in my humble opinion. Yes, I am extreme. I've got a big heart, though, as well. I think that capitalism can fix all problems in the world as well. Capitalism combined with charity, and education as well, which is what I stand for. Okay. All right. And Dax said, should we worry that the 20-year yield is higher than the 30-year yields? Is that what it was? Let me go back and check that out with you. All right, let's go here. 20-year. It's not that big of a difference, right? I mean, the entire yield curve is kind of flattening right now. I'm not worried about that, right? And 10 basis points, not the end of the world. Yeah. All right. Sanjay wrote, what version of SimCity you said you played on PC? Yeah. So on PC, I played SimCity from 2013. So what happened was Electronic Arts, which is based here in Redwood City. I've met with them plenty of times when I was an investor. They bought Maxis years ago. Maxis makes SimCity, etc. I love Will Wright. I got to meet him once at EA's headquarters. But EA, like many companies, when the founder leaves, they try to grow through acquisition, and it never works, right? So, for example, Hewlett-Packard, HP used to buy a lot of software companies. And, 10, 15 years ago, HP was the 5th biggest software company in the world. And I used to always joke that HP is where software companies go to die. And that's what happened with Maxis when EA bought them, right? They destroyed the brand, right? So SimCity was released in 2013, the last desktop version on Mac and PC. And it was an absolute disaster because you weren't allowed to play it unless you're connected to the internet. It was slow, it was bloated, etc. I still think it's a great game, but they killed the brand. And they outsourced SimCity Build It. And so it's another company that actually makes it here on iPhone, Android, which I play every day and I love. Hi, I'm 7.5. Yeah, no, I'm 52. But the average life expectancy globally today is 26 years less than it was back in the 1950s. So that means I'm 26. Yeah, with the maturity of a 7-year-old now. I kid. All right. Zane wrote, hey, sir, Chris, please. I've been studying cryptocurrency for 2 months and understand the basics, but I feel stuck. My progress isn't going anywhere. What should I do to continue progressing? What you can do if you want is you can join my MBA degree program where I explain cryptos in a lot of detail. Now, the problem with cryptocurrencies is from an investment perspective, it's not regulated by governments. It's sort of regulated by the laws of mathematics. And so before you invest in a stock, you can read filings. Like this is for Meta's IPO back in 2012. This is the S1 filing. And it's also called an investment offering memorandum. The problem is, because governments don't regulate cryptos, there's no document you can read. So you could be getting scammed. So what I do in my MBA degree program is I help you to write an S1 sort of, okay, like this for cryptos based on your research. So you can check it out at the link below. I'm going to take a very, very quick break and I'll show you a trailer that I recorded. I rented a couple of Hollywood studios where big movies you've seen are made as well. I'll be right back, okay? I don't know how to say it, so I'm just going to say it. I'm teaching a comprehensive course on Microsoft Excel. But let me tell you, Excel is a magician's hat that pulls out solutions to problems you never thought possible. As a former beta tester wizard for Microsoft, I've created more spreadsheets than stars in the sky. Come with me on a journey that will blow your mind. We're going back to a time when accounting was done with, well, sand. This is 5,000 years ago when the ancient Mesopotamians ruled the world, and clay tablets were the ultimate tech. They invented writing and spreadsheets before spreadsheets even existed, with wedge-shaped writing called cuneiform pressed into clay tablets. They tracked their trades, taxes, and loans like it was nobody's business. Ah! I think I'll add new shoes to the miscellaneous expenses column. And then came the paper ledger, the smartphone of the Middle Ages. The first tech revolution that changed the game for accountants and merchants everywhere. It allowed them to record several hundred financial transactions per day, a step up from clay tablets. And just when it seemed like spreadsheets had hit their limits, a new technology emerged. Computers with raw power at your fingertips. Programs like VisiCalc and Lotus 123 allowed for thousands of calculations per day. But with great power comes great responsibility. The undo function was yet to be invented. And today, Excel can do billions of calculations per day. So next time you open up the app, remember the journey it took to get here. And who knows where we'll go from here. Join me and unlock your full potential to wield thousands of years of history like a true wizard. All right, thank you for letting me take a quick break there. Please keep typing your questions. Next question is from Dak, which is the recent NFP, the non-farm payrolls, private jobs number came out negative, and government jobs did help to create more jobs to save unemployment rates. Should we be worried if the Trump administration decides to cut government jobs, which will increase unemployment? I think that will be partially offset by the fact that two things. Number one, deportations. It'll be offset by that. And number two, corporate tax rates going down a lot means it's going to be cheaper for companies to be able to hire. Yeah, I think they'll offset each other. Yeah. Now, the main judge of how Trump is doing in real time will be the stock market, right? And so I don't think he's going to be as extreme as we think. And if the market pulls back materially based on certain economic policies that he teases or mentions, I think he can reverse course pretty quickly. Yeah, he's the Trump bump is a real thing when it comes to the markets. Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, Trump can be extreme in what he says, but he does it to get a deal done. Right? Most people, when they negotiate, one party's here, they meet here in the middle. With Trump, most people start here, he starts over here, and they meet over here. Okay, and Zane wrote, I love the video. Thank you. I appreciate that. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to get ready now for my weekly Zoom call with my MBA degree program students. For those of you that are in my silver MBA degree program, you can always just go to the first lecture. Don't buy it though. I don't want you guys to buy my MBA program, and the reason is because we're going to be having a Black Friday sale. The Black Friday sale will not be on the monthly payments. It'll just be a one-time upfront payment if you want. So, and for those of you, my silver MBA, you can always go to the first lecture. of your curriculum per the text you see below here to access the weekly call. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this webcast with a video, short video that's life-changing. It's so life-changing. It's a Steve Jobs interview that I licensed it from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. God bless you all. Check out my new real estate course. And for those of you in my MBA program, if you already purchased, go to the last lecture of the MBA program to download the real estate course for free. I'll see you next week and every week. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.